here's what's wonderful. I think things are changing for the better as more women come into power. As more women make decisions for what roles. Quinta wrote a show where two women of a certain age, that's over 50, are best friends with each other, which makes sense. That's the way it would be in real life. But for a lot of years, for every half-hour TV show I was ever going into, the people in charge would be like, well, we already have one. Do we have to have another one that nobody wants to have sex with? Like, can we just have one old lady?
All right, so let's get started. Talk a little bit, and Liza, if you would start us off, talk about career longevity and the idea of being an overnight success.
I've been at this for many decades, and I'm now being told I'm an overnight success. I feel like someone once told me, you're neither fish nor fowl. And so, a couple things that kept me in this was people who I respected and trusted actually believing in me, and validating that I had something, a gift, which is important, when you're dealing with hundreds of rejections. And also, I am neither fish nor fowl. Like, now I own that. So to be myself, I think that is what I'm getting to with the longevity. Mm-hmm. You grow up, you have experiences, and hopefully you grow into your own, and, you start to feel comfortable in your own skin, and not, and for me, get out of the thing of tying myself into knots of trying to be who I thought the people in the room wanted me to be. And it took a really long time for it to really, that message when they say, oh, just have fun, be yourself. Right. That now I feel like, wow, just staying in the game, being a professional, being prepared, and just rolling with who I am, whether there's no category for me. I didn't grow up watching women who look like me. And as a middle-aged woman, like, there's all kind of, fears and baggage and blah, blah, blah. But thankfully, I got lucky. I think there is luck does play a part, because there's a lot of really talented artists out there who don't get a shot. Mm-hmm. And so I got some luck, and I was able to, white knuckle it and hang in there and just accepting who I am, but knowing that I bring something into the room. And so I think if you can hang on to that, I believe therapy, and love all the weirdness about yourself, or at least try to like it.
I love that you're saying, I love that you're saying all of that, because that's, what I was thinking about the panel today, and thinking about what is it that you want other actors to know about this journey, right? Just to be here with you women is just, also just wow, right? And then overnight success, when Orange is the New Black happened, after 20 years of me struggling in this industry, I was being told I was an overnight success. And I was like, no, it took me 20 plus years, so that was always weird. But thinking about the panel today, I thought, what I want people to understand, that once you love yourself, once you know who you are, once you sit in that pocket of, I'm comfortable with me, and I'm not trying to be who they want me to be, things change. That's where I feel that maybe we all are, after years of being in this industry, is finally sitting in a place of, I don't have to pretend to be anything other than who I am. And I bring something to the table that you don't bring, that you bring something to the table that I don't bring. We all have our unique things to offer. And I think once you trust that, something clicks and something happens that's pretty amazing. And that's why we're all here. I think longevity, and my God, longevity is about just sticking it out, but also knowing who you are as an artist and as a human being.
Yeah, people will often write me. I try to respond too. I don't know if you guys talk to people on social media, and there are a lot of people with dreams. I bet we all had it when we were little kids or teenagers. You know, I just went to Carol Burnett's hand and footprint ceremony at Man's Chinese, and she was somebody she was my babysitter on Saturday night, because back in those days, they let 10-year-olds hang out by themselves. Mom in her single mom post-divorce era was like going out, and Carol Burnett was like, oh, say hi to me, Carol. But those people, and Lily Tomlin and all of the women on Laugh-In, were the women who made me think I could have a career. So very early on, I knew this is what I was going to do. And I think, Liza, it's wonderful for you to say, you know, believe the people that you respect, that you've got something that makes you. But even if there's nothing, I remember Marilyn Monroe said, somebody asked her in an interview, what if 50% of the people that you met along the way, people you auditioned for, said you had no talent? And she said, if 100% said I had no talent, they'd all be wrong. And I was like, the ball's on her. Yeah. But what I want to say, and I actually wrote it down because it was so important. I got my SAG card almost 40 years ago. I've been working actively in this business for 30 plus years. 27 years ago, I did The Parent Trap. I know, I can't believe it either. I look so good. But people then were like, this is your career. CAA's calling, you know, everything's gonna hit. It's happening now. Carrie, how many times have you heard that? This is the one, right?
This is the one. Yeah.
Carrie and I did one of those together. And I'm looking at Carrie like we did a show, I'm sure you all remember, called listen, lovely cast. And I got to work with Sherry Shepherd, and Carrie was in the cast. We had a wonderful time. I looked at Carrie's talent and I went, she's a star. I don't know who's going to get it and when, but as inventive as she was back 30 plus years ago, I was like, this woman is a star. It's waiting for everybody else to catch up to it, because I didn't get to write my own ticket after The Parent Trap. I got recognized on the street and 20, 50 times a day, but the town doesn't necessarily know. So in between, I've had lots of questions now that Abbott's a hit saying, how great is it that you're back? And I'm like, well, it beats being really famous back then and then nothing. Like, I like this order of it, you know, a whole lot of like, y'all forgot about me and I'm back. I didn't die. I'm a vampire. I didn't go away in between.
No,
you were working my ass.
You were
working my ass off. I wrote a book. I created unscripted series. I created scripted series. I worked on people's short films. I worked. Because I was a single mother in Los Angeles, 4 kids that I know of. And we do what women do. We keep working. And the only secret to being this overnight sensation is don't quit. You got to, like the lady said, you have to grow into it. I was doing the rose tattoo at Arena Stage in auditions. They didn't hire me. I was 18. I was a freshman in college. I know, Carrie. Anybody who knows that character, I made myself a character actress, a 50-year-old, when I was 18. So clearly I knew it was going to take a couple decades for me to grow into this mouth, this voice. Yeah. So I think, be yourself, but be whatever version of yourself, you know, works to keep you working and get you the job.
Right. I mean, also, how do I say this? I feel like it's always important to have your own definition of what success is, because people want it to be fame, right? People want that to be what we want. And some people do want that. That has never been that's never been the engine that pushes me forward. It's never like it's never been some sort of end goal. Like I need to to make it or be famous. I always wanted to be, I would like to make a living as an actor, and be respected by my peers and do good work and continue to, grow into different kinds of roles and, just making it about the work, because then that takes the pressure off some kind of metric that we feel like we have to live by. And what we end up measuring ourselves against is other actors, and everybody has their own path. We all have our own path. And as soon as you start doing the comparative Olympics, you're going to lose, because you can't, you've got to just keep your own vision and keep your own power and try not to give it away to other people. And for me, that has always meant in between the actor for hire gigs, just like Lisa Ann, just like the two of you, I'm sure, or the three of you, Lori included, you're constantly figuring out how you can keep the work going. If somebody's not going to hire me, well, then I'm going to develop something. I'm going to write something. I'm going to make my own. I'm going to get together with friends. We're going to make a thing.
Yeah.
Because then you remain in your own power and you keep yourself sharp. Take a class or whatever it is that you're doing to keep your engine going, and try to tune out this, I've got to be this certain type of success, because that will really hurt you. And I don't know if you can ever live up to it. A
lot of times when they say success, they mean.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
And that's not and success, it should, if you had gotten that role at 18 in the rose tattoo, Lisa Ann, that would have been a success. You know what I'm saying? You got to go do it, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's naive, but it certainly has what kept me going all these years.
Mm-hmm. Liz, you wanted to say something, but when you said that, it made me think. I remember being in my house in Jersey when I was doing, I started off as an actor, but then I got pregnant. It's something I do very well. And so I started doing stand-up because it paid the bills. And I didn't, my ex-husband, who's my best friend in the world, was like, besides Elaine Hendricks, if she sees it, she'll get mad if I don't say that. But he was like, you got to go perform or you're going to be miserable. And then you're going to make us miserable. So I started to do stand-up. And I remember being on the phone with a friend of mine who was an actor who was complaining they couldn't get work, they couldn't get booked, they were auditioning. And I'm like, why do you think I started doing stand-up? Because I just get on a stage and talk. I don't have to have somebody say, if she lost 20 pounds, I didn't have to go through that white woman bullshit in the 1980s of body shaming and all of that horror show that I did one version of it. I'm sure Selenis and Liza, you did a whole extra layer of that garbage, right? But I remember them complaining and I said, what are you waiting for? You write something. And this was before we could make a movie on this.
Yeah.
It was like, why are you waiting? Make it. Do it. Don't wait for anybody to give you permission to work.
Right.
And we kept us busy. I know Liza and I, our roots are in New York and the theater world. And we were, I was thinking about, I've done everything. I've done loop groups. I've done commercials. I've done infomercial. I mean, we all have, we've done it all. And it's always just keeping yourself in the mix, keeping yourself going. Like Carrie said, you have to work that muscle. You can't just like sit by your phone, which, I've done that too, but you have to be active and stay in it, not only for that muscle, but for your well-being, for your mental space, just not to be a miserable person. For me, I need to be creative, because if I'm not, it's not a good time for anyone around me, including me, and all my people in here. So I need to constantly be out there doing something. And I think that's also part of the longevity. that I found I was always involved in something, always doing some kind of free theater in New York, you know, whether I was with a sketch comedy troupe, you know, early in at 19, at the New York Poets Cafe, like doing something. That's the actor, that's the artist in you. You have to keep it moving. And so that's what I always say to people is make sure that you are doing something. The money will come, all of that will come, but if you are doing something, you're going to feel good about yourself. And the money could take a long time to come. Let's be real.
And it might not be the thing that you think it's going to come from, because like we were talking about, somebody's always going to say, this is the one, this is the hit. You didn't know, Liza didn't know the bear was going to do what the bear did. Like you don't know. We have to be incredible optimists as actors, incredible, which is counter to my DNA because I'm Sicilian and we are deeply pessimistic people. But every day you wake up, you have to say, this is the job. This could be the one. This could be the audition. I took a class right before the Abbott audition, and an audition class, and I was embarrassed to go to class, you guys, because I'm like, what if I go in there and people are looking at me like, why is she here? Because I'm like, I thought I know how to audition, but what I forgot was my personal power and the confidence that I should have in the room. And going into the room going, there's nobody in town that's going to do this job better than me. This is me. This is mine. And I'm taking it. And reminding myself some of the things y'all said about shutting that voice that inside of you, whoever it comes from, your mother or judgment or whatever, saying you're old or you're not good enough or it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened this year or this decade, and shutting it up. Because the one reason that I should be an inspiration to anybody here is that all that time happened in between. And I'm sitting here next to Sheryl Lee Ralph and next to William Stanford Davis, 70, whatever. And for none of us did this happen until now. Yeah. So you don't know when it's going to come.
No. And you have no control over it.
Right.
You know, and I know that, you know, yeah, for now, I'm going to take advantage of this momentum because I have no control over how long it's going to last. And so I've been around long enough to have seen people put all their eggs in one basket and step away from trying to stay sharp. And then, boom, you know, the other shoe falls and it's hard. So I do also think that, and not to be pessimistic, that's my nature, yes. But you know, don't think that, oh, now, because I'm sorry, I still have to audition.
Me too.
I still get rejected. It's a different.
Like, I'm offer only.
No way. Oh, no.
That's beautiful. It is. And it's like, yeah, you know, but if there's something that I say that, but I still, sometimes there's that project that I respect the director enough to be like, okay, you know,
yep.
You're not sure, here it is. But I would say that it's important to have some kind of community, like what you were saying, Sally. I had my Labyrinth Theater company. I had my theater community. I didn't have any credentials from from Juilliard or anything. I'm not somebody who is like, oh, I'm given to doing Shakespeare and I'm so good with the word. No, I felt like I was always like just learning something. And I still feel like I'm just learning. And so the pressure to compare yourself and to feel like you can't risk not knowing is a trap. You never stop learning. And, and with that community that I had with Labyrinth, there was so much room to grow. There was a lot of, shenanigans too.
Yeah.
But
always politics.
Always.
But like writing my one-woman show came out of, a writing exercise that was supposed to be a page. but being encouraged. And what I mean by being encouraged by people you trust, it's people you really trust.
Mm.
Like you know their track record.
Yeah.
You know that they have integrity. And so if you get a handful of those who are like, you know, just,
Yeah.
Well, that leads me,
you know?
that leads me to another question about creating authentic relationships in the business. And Liza, you know, you've talked both about people that you respected, that believed in you as you were going forward, and then also people that surrounded you, that you allowed to surround you as you were creating your show, your one-woman show. So the importance of having authentic relationships in the business. Talking about how you do that. How do people go about that? How do you know what's the litmus test on someone so that you're bringing people into your camp that you know have your back in a real way to help guide you?
Yeah.
For me, it was, yeah, I mean, at first I got to step out of my comfort zone. I had to go and, you know, back in the day, you had to get up and buy Backstage magazine and look through it. And that's where I found an ad that said Excellent Latinos Wanted. And I didn't know if I fit the bill, but I went and, you know, auditioned and got several callbacks. And I think that you will find that people who respect the work and feel inspiration come at all levels. So your beginners, you know, your veterans, we also need that electricity and thrive off of it. You know, Philip Seymour Hoffman came in to our company because he was seeking that community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't know who he was. I thought, you know, meanwhile, he had just wrapped Nobody's Fool with Paul Newman. And here he is in the booth with me running sound and I'm running lights. I had no idea, but that was, I think that you'll find that if you're in a class, you know, and you have fellow artists who have your back and you could be yourself with them and you could jam with them, even if it's in your living room, that grows exponentially. It attracts. That goes for anything, you know, in the casting room, at the table reading. You have that. If you nourish that, then it becomes contagious, hopefully. And if it doesn't, that's not your people.
Yeah, and you could spread that. You could spread that energy that you got. You can spread it at this stage where we're at, right? You go into rooms, you go into auditions, and instead of being like, oh my God, that's my competition, it's like, no, I love going into spaces where I see you, where I see other women that are, now we're in the same category or whatever, going up for the one Latino role that comes around every 5 years, you know, and everyone's kind of like foaming at the mouth. But we're not anymore. There's an ease and there is a community about like, listen, we're still here. You know, it went from like a huge group to just a very small group of people that are still in the game, right? Longevity. We go back to that again. And there is something beautiful about connecting with those folks. Like, you know, I see you, we saw each other just recently at the Emmys, you know, all the award stuff. And able to communicate with you and Justina Machado, who's been in this also, you know, like people that we know have been doing this for years and that we can now be support for each other. And hopefully maybe people will look at us that are younger and say, oh, you know, they could hang out, they could chill, they could be supportive of one another, you know, because the competition is yucky, you know, especially in the beginning. Now, not so much for me. I'm like, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, whatever. But it took time to get there. And I think it's also the people that you surround yourself with that help ease that thing that we all have in us, you know, when we're out for a job or trying to continue working in this industry.
Yeah, I have this group of women. We call ourselves the hyphenates. 10 of us, and we've been a little girl support tribe for, I don't know, 13 years or something. And we're friends and stuff. But it's more about supporting each other as women in this business, as women who are hyphenates, actor, director, dancer, teacher, et cetera, whatever hyphen is that you are. And we have this freaking text thread that goes, and it's not just about like, hey, I'm doing this piece, or hey, look at this article that just came out about such and such, or let's have a dialogue about, some frustration that we're having or some celebration. A lot of it is about celebrating each other's work. But then it's also, does anybody have a gynecologist? It's that kind of thing, because
that location help.
I need a new therapist, or I'm having surgery, and we all rally around each other, or whatever it is that is supportive in the life of it, just the living part of it, because that's important to stay healthy and to commune around just as much as the work.
Yeah.
And so that has been a blessing. And then little groups there's not a day that goes by that I'm not on a text chain with, some castmates from Claws. We have like a really tight group, that if you can find your little showmances, your show buddies, nurture that, water that, to spend time with that, do what you can to keep those things going, because they carry you through, sometimes you'll be on a job and you won't, it'll just be a job, and you won't have that. And so you'll want to have those little groups that you can lean on, especially in those times when, gosh, you know what? I'm just not bonding with anybody. I'm just here doing the work. I'm lonely. You have these groups already set up that you can lean on.
Yeah, I feel the Abbott cast will often talk about when we go and do other projects, we'll text our group thread and be like, I want to come home.
Yeah.
We miss each other because it is such a special set. And other, guest actors will say that too. They come into it and they're like, you guys are all so nice. And I think part of that is the fact that many of us, I find it interesting that all of us on this panel have theater backgrounds.
Yeah.
And that we're all accustomed to work. And we came to town knowing how to work.
Yeah.
And that there is a difference there. We didn't come. Similarly, I never said I want to be a star. I thought if I'm lucky, I'll get to work the Guthrie or Arena. That if I'm lucky, I will get to act for a living. I never saw any of this. So when you have a special cast, you really connect with them, and that it's special. But I wrote something down about making the connections. Oh, I want to say one thing first. A number of people said, I think Selenis, you said that it feels now more like it's easier to bond. Like you can hold people to you and not. What's so funny is that maybe because and this is so dumb, but I never put myself, I gave myself a 50-year-old role when I was 18. I never put myself in the category of, I got to fight it out with the other ones who have to make it before they're 30 or my boobs are going to fall. Like I never put myself in that. And that I noticed it. I would go into rooms where there were women breasting that age, and it felt very, I don't want to say desperate, but desperate.
Yeah.
I think things are changing. First of all, then you get to the point where you're like, well, I can play this character till I'm dead. And nothing's going to change for me. It might be a different wig, but I will do a version of a character. Nothing is threatened. So it's easy to embrace. But I always felt so much like a girl's girl that I didn't feel that way. But I recognized that it existed and was there. And here's what's wonderful. I think things are changing for the better as more women come into power. As more women make decisions for what roles. Quinta wrote a show where two women of a certain age, that's over 50, are best friends with each other, which makes sense. That's the way it would be in real life. But for a lot of years, for every half-hour TV show I was ever going into, the people in charge would be like, well, we already have one. Do we have to have another one that nobody wants to have sex with? Like, can we just one old lady, just one broad, and then, all the rest of them are hot. So I think that has changed. And in terms of finding people, what's weird is that I'm terrible at remembering faces and names. Terrible. My first husband was such a genius, and he was a sales guy, and he was my manager. And anytime someone was approaching me, he'd be like, that's the guy that ran Columbia TriStar, you had a project with him. And as I pretended to drop a napkin. And then I would know, I'm awful. If you can get that skill, get it, because it helps so much as you're moving through and navigating all the people that you meet, because they know you're the one in front of the camera, but you have to remember those people, what they did on what project. And you don't know, a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, I got to meet the important people so that they hire me. I am like, well, let me meet the young people because they're the ones, and I flat out tell them, remember me, what's my call time? When you hit big and you get your project, remember to put me in it. Remember, you love that Parent Trap thing I did. 20 years, I'm still going to be the same actress, so don't forget me. So you don't know which are the people and on what level are going to be people that you take with you forever and that you love. It could be anybody.
Yeah. Treat people nicely too, right? You said that, and I just thought about like Jen Houston, who's an amazing casting director. And she cast me in a bunch of stuff in the beginning. I'm sure Liza, to all of us, she's amazing. And she cast Orange is the New Black. And she was an intern just starting out. We're like, buddies. I'd go in there, I'd be like, hey, girl, we'd always talk. Years later, she gave me this opportunity as the overnight success, and she told me it was one of like those Emmy parties. And she said, I want you to know that from day one, you've been the same person. And I remember that. And there are a lot of people that were not nice to me when I was that intern, that I remember that too. So you never know along the way. Be kind to people that you work with. You never know who's going to be responsible for giving you that job and all of the things. And going back, Lisa, like, I think one of the things about like going into rooms and feeling like the desperate, energy. I know that maybe Liza and I, it's because for us specifically, being Afro-Latina, roles for us were never, ever, ever available. And if one role did become available, it was one role for a whole lot of really talented, desperate people, who wanted a job. And so I think that energy is very different and has been very different. And it's taxing. It's unfortunate. As much as the industry is changing, I don't think it's changing enough for us. I think Liza and I, we're like the unicorns right now. We're like, oh my God, there's two Afro-Latinas working on, shows, and that alone. And in comedy, I never thought I would be in a multicam. I never thought that I would be given this opportunity. Thankfully, Mayan Lopez and Debbie Wolf, two badass women, were like, we're going to make this show. And then George Lopez, who has been like a mentor to me, and I'm learning so much. This is my first multicam, and it's crazy. Everyone knows me as a dramatic actress, so I felt like an imposter for the first season completely. Maybe still do in many ways. But I think that there is always like this desperation when you know that roles for you don't necessarily exist. And the older you get, you go, well, if it was hard back then when everything was real high and tight, I'm trying my best doing the spot.
It's still high and tight, baby.
Yeah, girl.
But, it was still rough then. And so you're like, woo, it just adds another layer of all the things. But
I get it. But do you think I'm sorry to take over your job, Lori. I'm not trying to.
Please, this is what it's all about, this conversation.
I've known Maya since she was literally a little girl, right? And I actually cast her in something like 2 years before, right before the pandemic, and a short that I directed. And she's so sweet because she's always been that funny, always. And she was like, I didn't believe myself, but you believed in me. And I love the fact that she had an idea and it became a show, giving opportunity to, I couldn't believe there was not at that moment a show about a Latinx family. It was bizarre to me that, but now given the success and you doing what you're doing and having opportunity and Liza having opportunity, that don't you think that snowballs, that then you get the opportunity to put things together to, have production companies and make more opportunity. I hope that's true.
Ooh, I hope so. I think Liza and I have been around long enough to know that there's always these Latin explosion moments where it's like, ooh, Ricky Martin came out and everybody's like, oh my God, La Vida Loca. And everybody's like, oh my God, this is so great. There's all these Latinos. And then it kind of dies down, but we're still here, And so I think that there's the fight, but yes, Liza doing what she's doing, has been doing, myself and countless others, I think it does help. It does help, but it's really still hard. Like Lopez versus Lopez is the only Latinx show on a network. I think it's the only Latinx show, or when I say Latinx, I mean not show because it's a show for everyone. But it's a show with predominantly Latin people in the cast. I think we're the only ones right now that has a majority of the cast being Latinx, and that's unfortunate because every story should have a space to be told. So kudos to Maya Lopez and Debbie Wolf and George and everyone who's doing their thing, and Liza for representing as well, and Justina Machado, who's also amazing, and Judy Reyes. I mean, there's a lot of women that have been doing this for a long time, but we still are struggling for our own power, let alone maybe bringing other, we'll see. I am hopeful.
I do have a question that just came in, and maybe this fits in with what we're talking about right now. But Antonia asks, what has been your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it? Thank you for that question, Antonia. She's watching now. Would anyone like to take that?
Carrie, you haven't talked in a long time. Take it.
Yeah.
So there are many challenges, but something just came to mind. So I will talk about this. So it was some years ago, and I did a pilot, and it was a multicam, and it was one of these that had a lot of actors. So it was a big ensemble and stuff. And my character was the last one to be cast. And it was because they didn't know what they wanted, right? So I came in the room and I did a take on it that was fresh. And they were like, great, that's what we wanted. And then I got in to shoot the pilot and they changed all the dialogue completely. And so then I had to figure out, okay, well, how do I do this character that they bought basically by hiring me, but with all this new dialogue? So I tried doing that, and they said that's go back to doing the thing that you were doing before. And I was like, but the dialogue is different. So okay, I'll do what I can. But anyway, it turned into this thing whereby I was sort of being made to feel like I didn't know what I was doing. And that was like a real challenge because then I had to, and in the sitcom world, you get fired if there's a lot of people that get fired if you blow a joke or whatever. It's like the next day there's a new cast, right? Especially during the pilot. So I was trying to hold on to that situation and that job, but still be, try to be true to what I was wanting to do with this role. And at the time, I started spiraling and thinking, I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be fired. And at the time I was taking an acting class, and it was with the great Mary McDonnell, the actor, Mary McDonnell. She happened to be teaching a class at that time. So I went into class, and she would always have you sit down and say, you would start off before you did your work, and you would just say, I feel whatever, because she wanted you to like root yourself into where you were in the moment. So I sat down and I immediately started bawling, and she was like, what's going on? And I explained everything. And she said, I need to say something to you. And I need you to listen very closely. This is a blip in what is and will continue to be a very successful career. Number one. Number two, you are the authority on this character. Number three, you need to go in with a big smile. You need to go in and say, what can I do today to help you make this project as good as it can be? What can I do to help you, to the producers, the directors, everybody? And so make it about like solving the project for someone else, not for you, you know? And so those were the things that I took with me that helped me get through that challenging situation. And I still take with me today, because it is a collaborative thing that we do. And it's real easy to get caught up in your own thing, you know, and you forget that you're there to serve something bigger. And so whenever I get into a challenging situation like that, I try to always get out of myself, even in an acting scene. Oh my God, the scene's not working. Why isn't it working? I'm not listening. Okay, make it about the other person. As soon as you make that scene about the other person, you're good. You're cooking again. Mm-hmm. And so that's a long answer to a short question, but that's sort of how I try to get out of challenging situations.
It's a great answer and
great story.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
I'm just amazed by y'all. I really am. Like, yeah, Elsbeth, Abbott, Selenis, I know you since, damn, you know, two Bronx girls, you know, and I just feel like, damn, I'm so lucky, you know, to be on this with y'all. And I don't know, I guess it's, you know, just holding on to like what you just said, Carrie, you know, at any level.
Yeah.
It's really checking in and then make it about the other person. And it's not going to solve all the problems, but damn, if you don't have that.
It helps so much.
I feel like any time that I have, this is kind of all encompassing, but anytime I've had a problem, a challenge in a career, we're talking about, I can't get cast, or I thought I did my best, or they don't want my type this decade, whatever it is. Anytime that I've had those problems, it all has boiled back down to my lack of confidence, my problem with me. The person who made the problem for me is me. The person who got in my way was me. I would get in my own way in terms of going after stuff by talking myself out of things, by being like, well, I'm not going to audition for that because I know this and that person's better and I know what they're going to be in the world. They probably already made an offer. I'm not going to go in and just be the person that they're going to lower their pay by using me as leverage. All the things we do, listening to the not good people, Liza, but the bad, like my ex, the one you know, Carrie, not the good ex. Like, but I mean, if anybody in your life is busy telling you anything that's wrong with you, you got to jettison that weight. Mm-hmm. Because that flotsam and jetsam, because what we do is hard enough. Mm-hmm. And if there is anybody outside of your own head giving you reasons not to believe in yourself, they got to go. And that means you, anybody is talking to you, including you, about what you lack or are not capable of, because exactly what you are might be exactly what's needed for that next thing. You got to stop getting in your own way. And I'm talking to myself. I'm looking right at me.
Yeah.
Everything.
Loving yourself. We have to love on yourself so hard. And that's one of the things that I think we all the women on this panel, I think that there is some kind of ease. When I watch you all individually do your work, there is an ease about who you are. You know, it's like, I'm here. This is me unapologetically, you know, all of me. And there is something that people connect with, that type of energy. When you know who you are and you're sitting in it, and it is what it is. Hey, you don't want this girl from the Bronx, oh, you don't want this, from Jersey, but there's something about loving yourself and unapologetically and saying, this is it. For Lopez versus Lopez, one of the things that I love about our show and about Marissa, who does our wardrobe, is the way they dress me. I was like, listen, we're going to show all of these curves. We're going to make people feel all uncomfortable. If they, during the Ozempic era, everyone's going to see a real body. It is what it is. This body has, done a lot for me. It's given life. It's given pleasure. It's done a lot of things. So I want to celebrate it. And also, being a middle-aged woman, I'm like, I want to own this stage of my life. And I want it to be in a way that is a celebration. And so what we're doing on the show is also, dressing me sexy in the leopard and the low cut this. And I'm loving it. And there was a time that I would not want to be seen on television, on screen, as a full-figured woman. I would be mortified because I was told so many times that I was too big, too thick, too this, too short. Your butt is too big. You're there, but everyone's
same. By the way, same.
Right? And now
there's a white woman body that I did not fit into, honey.
And now,
all Charlie's Angels. I did not look like that.
And I hear now they're slipping in your DMs. So,
it's in style now.
It's in style.
But celebration, any body type.
Yeah.
But I think that what you say is absolutely right on. It's about being comfortable with yourself and also authentic, because people, especially on television, in a movie, you're a character for this long, and they have to buy you as that character, may be very different. Mm-hmm. On television, they have to invite you into their home every week.
Yeah.
And who you are authentically, they feel. So I think when you are who you are at some level of yourself is there, your beating heart, who you are is what they see. And to me too, I had the same moment. I'm like, don't I need a foundation garment? And I got to lose 15 pounds and Quinta's like, no, that is who that character is. And that's you. And it again, as opposed to when I was first on TV in the late 90s, and there was another lawyer that I was literally on TV against on my show that won its time slot every week, by the way. But I was up against Ally McBeal.
Yes.
They wanted me to look like her. And that made my kidneys bleed. I'm like, I could not be that weight. I was killing myself. It was a big eating disorder era. So, I mean, through all of that and just getting to the place where, again, more women in charge, the times have changed. We can just be authentically who we are and loving it. I love my body now. So,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I still really struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like, Lizzo and them were just not in front of me, coming up as a kid. And so, I would starve myself down to a size 2. Mm-hmm. And and up and down and up and down, and still like, dude, I arrived in LA with 2 suitcases because what am I going to feel comfortable with? What's going to, that I just feel like I need to say that if you're still struggling with that, don't beat yourself up.
Yes.
You are not at a place in your life yet where you are not like, yo, this is me, fuakata. That's normal.
Yeah.
It's not a character defect that is your fault. Especially as women and women of color, like it's, and at a certain age, hopefully I'm seeing change and more acceptance for all kinds of body types. But if you're not on the other side of it completely, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
No.
And
You're right. I think it is generational.
Yeah.
It's that part of it. And men go through it too. I mean, I've seen men be, really stringent about how they think that they're supposed to look in order to play a character, but they have less. I mean, I don't know if you all feel this, but I always feel like for men, if they love the actor, Paul Giamatti is not being told he needs to lose 15 pounds.
Nope.
Ever. Not one time in his career. He was that guy.
Yeah.
That's who they were hiring. So there was a line I remember in 30 Rock, one of my favorite shows, Alec Baldwin's character, Jack Donaghy, he says, actresses can be 20 pounds underweight or 70 pounds overweight. Anything else is bad TV.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, but that was the comment. That's what it was. You could be Kathy Bates or, you had to be Calista Flockhart. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there was no in between. So, I mean, hopefully that we're coming out of that and we can see human beings as human beings. But you're right, Liza. It's like the struggle. It goes on.
Yeah.
It definitely goes on. I'm fine with my body as long as you're not seeing some of the skin. Some of the skin is it's not playing.
I remember Kathy Bates getting naked and getting into that hot tub.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
I'll take Kathy Bates. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's these brave people that go, and keep creating, taking away the barriers. I want to ask about, I love this beautiful, beautiful spotlight that you're all shining on different aspects of the business. And also, I was wondering, I think so often there's this myth that once you've made it to a certain level, your reps take over in terms of how you're going to get work. How does that play out for you? And what part of it is real? And what part of it with working with your reps is you still driving that, those relationships to get what you want next?
You ask my manager if I've ever let up 1 second in all of the decades we've worked together.
Mm-hmm.
I've known, the truth is that when you are on a show that's doing very well, there are more opportunities. Just like, the winning awards is not, it's lovely. It would be awesome to win awards, but it really, what that means is that you maybe have more opportunities to do good work. And for me, that's what it means. It's not the award in and of itself. But so any time in my career, I've pushed up my slate of projects, and there's always been a slate. Are they more inclined to push for you? Yeah, when you're in a hit, because there's going to be more opportunity out there with people. Here's, what are we doing with your production company? What are we doing with, what are you doing on your hiatus? Can you book a movie? But I don't think there's ever a time, even if you have a team that you love, and I love my team, and I believe that they fight for me, and pitch me and all of that. But there's never been a time where I'm like, they got it.
Yep.
I'm too much of a control freak.
I am too. I mean, I always love to start the year with a nice email to the team saying this is what we did this year, and this is what we are looking forward for. And that came with years of being afraid to speak up and say to my team what I needed from them. It was always the belief that as an actor, you wait for them, that they have the power, they have the control. You, the actor, has a lot of control over what happens in your career. And that is by showing up, by being present, by knowing what projects are happening, by making that call. Hey, just checking in, a little email. This is lovely. I sent an email. I think it was basically like, okay, great. I'm on this show. Let's not get comfortable. This is what I love to do moving forward. And not to say that they are, because I love my team and they work hard for me. I've had my manager for over 20 years. I love her. But there are moments where I'm like, hey, girl, I haven't heard from you. What's up? And, but we have conversations. And yeah, I say to them, I want a career. I sent an email recently, and this is because I love this person, this actress that I'm about to name. I have the utmost respect for everything she has done. I was like, Niecy Nash is the type of career that I admire. I'm so happy for her. It's such a blessing that she does the comedy, she does the drama, she does it all. The game shows, she's there, she's doing her thing. And she's lovely and she's real and she's all the things. That's what I want. That is the poster child that we should always be striving for. And it's not to say, when I say that, I don't want it to be like, oh, I want her career, her specific. No, I want a career like Niecy Nash's, where she is the bomb, and everything she does, she shows up authentically and she has respect and she's constantly working. That's it. I just want to keep working. I think we all just want to keep working and being challenged, challenge me. And that's the email that I sent out this past January, going, hi guys, this is the deal.
Yeah, I've been on let's see, since I got out of drama school and started working with agencies, I've been with I'm on my fourth, and I've been with this agency for a long time now, but I'm probably 14 years maybe or something. But if it doesn't feel right, if you feel like the agency isn't doing those things that y'all were talking about, it's okay for you to go, you know what, this isn't working out for me. And I'm going to need to go and find, somebody else who does believe in me or doesn't put me in the work drawer, call it the work drawer, when it's like, oh, she's working. Great. We don't have to worry about her. And then they kind of forget about you if you're working, or if you're not working, even more so, you're not on their mind. So I think it's okay for people. I want people to understand that, it's a relationship that you have with your reps, and you want to find a good team that you feel is supportive of wherever you are working or not. The irony sometimes is when you get to the place where you are working a lot, you at least for me, you think I'm going to take a break here. I want to take a break here because that's important as well for your mental health.
I still got to learn that. I'm like, AK while the sun shines, baby. Set me up.
There's a way to be, to do that and to also take a break, to find that balance.
You're a lot healthier than I am, though, Carol.
I don't think so.
Like you got a husband and stuff. I just have all these kids.
They're good kids.
Also, the idea of that you brought up, Selenis. What's your nickname? I love
Belly.
Okay, yeah. Can I call you that too?
Please.
Sally, when you said the idea that actors have that it's a lot of, oh, I'm working for my reps. Well, no, but we get so ingrained into the idea of, it's the reason why we didn't have a strike for 4 rounds longer than it should have gone. 4 rounds ago, we should have said, you're going to do what with DVDs because you don't know if they're going to sell. It's the same as VHS. You're going to do what with cable? Oh, you're not going to pay us for streaming? Right. 4 rounds, because people were betting that actors were what I always called, as when I got involved in union work, interchangeable sucks off the craft service table. And that's what they thought of. That's how they thought of us. And many of us bought into it, that I am replaceable. And so I better behave. And I better not make trouble for anybody. And I better do this and I better do that. And it gets us into a lot of trouble because it is a profession and we are trained. And not everybody can do what we do. And it is incredibly important in the arts. I have 2 musician children. It is incredibly important to know your worth and advocate for your worth and not accept poor treatment or no pay, or you're doing this for exposure or any of the things that people try to tell us. You have to do it because there ain't nobody else going to do it for you.
That's right.
You didn't ask it, but I said it.
We received it, Ma. We received it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. This is so powerful. And I so appreciate the level that you're all sharing at, the vulnerability, the willingness to also inspire all the people who are watching this today and will be watching it once it's on the SAG-AFTRA Foundation YouTube channel. We're going to have to wrap it up. I could go on and on with all of you and everything that you have to share with all of us that are watching tonight. But what would you say for your, as we close tonight, what would you like to say for the generations coming up and those that are watching, actors, that you feel that you have had happen in your life that was unexpected, that ended up being something really wonderful, so that they can look out for those kinds of things too, the unexpected that is the good that you have found on your path?
A really good question.
Unexpected for me was taking on a role on a streaming platform. No one knew what Netflix was, those, in the early days. And taking a chance and setting ego to the side and taking a role that I had not gone up for originally. I went up for one of the more developed roles on Orange is the New Black, and I didn't get it. And it was one of the low points in my career where I was kind of like, I'm done with acting. I can't do this anymore. A single mom. I have all, and Jen Houston, she was like, you have to come in. You should come in for this. And I did. I didn't get that role. But then they said they liked you so much, they want to offer you a smaller role. She'll probably only work for, 1 or 2 episodes. But, and I remember thinking, I'm going to just do it because it's a job. And I'm going to love it. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be so prepared. Her name is Gloria Mendoza. That's all they gave me. And I was like, I'm going to give her I'm going to give her such a story in my head. I gave this woman so much life. I made her a New Yorican from the Lower East Side. I mean, I filled it. And I had like 2 lines. That was it. But that moment, coming as prepared as I did that day for that very small role, changed my life at that moment. And it was me taking it serious and showing up and being determined to be the best 2 lines in that episode, but I did it. And I'm so grateful that I let ego, I just let the ego sit off. And because I could have gone into, I've been doing this for 20 years. I have this. And no, I didn't. I said, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to say these 2 lines and I'm going to collect my minimum wage paycheck and leave. And I did every episode. And I became a series regular, and that journey changed my life and put me in rooms that I could only dream about, worldwide success with that show. And that is why I'm grateful to that little role that has me sitting here today with you amazing women on my dream job, which is to be on a network television show, a multicam doing comedy. I always wanted to do it, but it took some time, but I did that role. I came prepared. An actor must always be prepared kind of thing. And I did it. And that's the theater background. And I came, Gloria Mendoza, and she came, I had everything. I was like, you want me to improv? I got it all, but it changed my life. And I think that there's something about letting actors know, prepare yourself always, because you never know who's watching. You just never know who's watching and where life will go.
Wow. Thank you.
Can I just add one thing? Trust your instincts, trust your gut. Because with The Bear, which was, I got cast off with self-tape during the pandemic. I didn't get the script. I didn't even have the whole episode. I didn't know. I had one scene. But my gut told me to use a sazon packet in the scene. That's, the seasoning. And I used it. And, but I didn't have anything, but we have instincts. You have that little truth that is only yours. And don't be, afraid to trust it sometimes.
Also, I was just meditating on what you were saying about the question about what was unexpected, right? And when I started off in my career, I had it in my head what it was going to be, and I didn't trust what's unexpected. What's unexpected is the best thing about this business. And if you can kind of, yes, gun for it. Yes, do everything, do the work, do all those things that Liza and Selenis were just saying, but also be prepared for what is unexpected to come and be ready for it and welcome it. It keeps you in the moment. As an actor, don't make a choice, let a choice happen to you, because it might not be exactly what you've prepared and whatever. It might be an unexpected thing that happens in a scene that makes it crackle. Same with your career. An unexpected thing might come along. I never would have thought I would, go and do a series in New Orleans for 4 years. I didn't expect that. But wasn't it wonderful when it came? Or some little scene in a movie that I got to, meet Diane Keaton. Does she remember me? No, of course not. I got to act with her. No. I didn't expect that, and there it was. And I made the most of it, like y'all are talking about. So I just think it's a good way to live your life, not expecting anything.
Well, and also for you, I can't imagine that when you went on as Elsbeth the first time for The Good Wife, that this would lead to this today.
No, this is the biggest surprise of my life. Yeah.
Before, Carrie, I'm so glad that you said that about things that are unexpected in the work, because all I could think of was all of this, the things that happen in the theater that are not planned are my favorite. The prop's not there.
Yes.
A set piece. I was doing Streetcar Named Desire and a flat fell down. And I can't remember what I did at the time. I think I might have said something about an earthquake. I don't remember. I was doing a farce once where I was playing like twin sisters. It was literally, I was in a burlap sack and it was like 100 degrees in this outdoor theater and I'm improving Dost Thou Have a Shears. Like things happen in the theater because you're not shooting. It's true. It's immediate. It's real. It's why I respond to stand up, because it's right in front of you, and that communication between you and the audience is real, right? So all of that stuff is great, but I think in terms of the work, there was nothing that surprised me that I didn't feel like was part of what we take on when we decide to make this our profession, our life. There was stuff that was cool. Like I went into audition for a movie as the crappy nosy neighbor in like a sweatsuit. And when I got to location in Atlanta, it was a whole rack of mini skirts and giant platform heels. And I was the cougar assassin shooting a Glock and stunt driving a Mustang. I didn't see that coming.
Not expect that.
I was making myself a 50-year-old at 18 and I got to play the hottie against Ashton Kutcher. Where the hell saw that coming? Right. So like stuff like that, I just find, I had an audition for a Spielberg movie. I feel like I'm dropping names now, like just dropping. But I had an audition where they didn't have a script. And so again, I just went in trusting the instincts, Liza, and with no script, they were like, improv something, you're a bartender. Can you imagine? So I'm like, okay. And I like did a thing like I was pouring a beer and making fun of my arm fat jiggling. And I got the part. And I went on set and Spielberg's like, can you do that thing that you did in the audition? It was 6 months before. And he saw the panic and went, we wrote it down. Don't worry. You'll have lunch to remember it. But like if nothing panics you because you're used to chaos that is an actor's life, then you embrace all of it as opportunity, as fun, as part of the thing that we do when we're playing on set. It's all of it. It's magic. It's magic what we do.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. What a great way to end the conversation tonight. I so appreciate everything that you all shared. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Liza. Thank you, Selenis. Thank you, Carrie, or Sully, as
Sully.
Sully. Yes.
Sorry, my dogs got all in it. My dogs were like, they got very excited, so I apologize.
No problem. It's live Zoom, just like theater. So thank you so very much. We treasure your time, and we so appreciate the reflections that you've given us tonight and the ways that you made it so real and accessible. No matter what level somebody is at as an actor, people were able to take so many nuggets from tonight, and comes from you all and your sincerity and your kindness. So thank you so very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye, y'all.
Nice seeing you all.